Discover how a resourceful girl transformed trash bags into an incredible dress. Shocking a mill? Lily stood in the dim light of her cluttered bedroom, surrounded by crumpled trash bags ready for transformation. Pieces of discarded plastic shimmered like broken dreams strewn across her floor. Each roll of fabric echoed the sadness of her worn-down house, a relic of the past where family traditions hung like forgotten pictures on the walls. Her fingers grazed the edges, her heart racing. Could she really turn something the world deemed worthless into a stunning dress? Just the thought sent a wave of nervousness flooding through her. As she began sketching her design, anxiety coiled tightly in her stomach. What if her classmates laughed at her? Again. The whispers, the mockery, would they ever stop? Standing at the edge of her ambition filled her with hope but also the fear of failure, its sharp bite lingering. She wanted to believe in herself, but with her parents' tragic loss still fresh in her mind, the weight of expectations felt suffocating. Every stitch would feel like a reflection of their absence, a testament to her longing for something greater than this life of perpetual struggle. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days bled into nights as Lily's ambition bloomed. But with every inch of the dress that took shape beneath her tired fingers, so did the rising tension. The pressure became suffocating, a relentless drumbeat in her mind reminding her of what was at stake: the scholarship, the dreams, the chance to escape. Her grandmother's unwavering support, while comforting, bore the heavy weight of sacrifice, a silent letting go of her own aspirations. This was for them but also for herself. A knot tightened in her throat as she envisioned her grandmother's proud smile overshadowed by a deeper sadness. Then came the day an influencer from the mill paid their town a visit. Their presence ignited a buzz, and Lily felt her heart drop when the influencer critically examined her creations with a dismissive glance, declaring them utterly worthless. Each word sliced through her fragile confidence, fanning the flames of doubt that had flickered inside her. The laughter of her classmates echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of her vulnerability. In that moment, surrounded by onlookers, her determination wavered. Was it worth pursuing a dream when it cost her self-esteem? The veil of despair cloaked her, heavier than ever before. She felt the shadows heedless of her efforts, whispering that perhaps she belonged back in the margins, where pain and ridicule coexisted with an unyielding longing for more. Slumped against a wall, her project lay before her, a chaotic mix of colors and textures, yet it felt like an extension of her heart, a heart now caught in a tumultuous void between fear and aspiration. As the day of the competition crept closer, she wrestled with her choices, standing at the crossroads of a dream tainted by the weight of her reality. Would she embrace her individuality, or would the world continue to reject her? With a shuddering breath, she stepped toward her creation, feeling the fabric beneath her touch. This was more than just a dress. It was a lifeline woven from the strands of resilience, a chance to silence the echoes that sought to drown her spirit. As the ticking clock marked the final days before the competition, Lily's surroundings shifted. The once inviting chaos of her cluttered room now felt like a prison, its walls closing in with the noise of her doubts. Each morning she stared at the half-finished dress, her mind oscillating between determination and despair. She questioned if anyone could see the beauty in her work, or if the shadows of judgment would forever cloud their perception. One late afternoon, Lily retreated to the attic, a place untouched by her daily burdens. It was here her grandmother kept boxes filled with memories, photographs, and forgotten scraps of fabric. Underneath a dusty quilt, she discovered a collection of her mother's sketches, impressive designs that once flourished with potential. The vibrant lines and intricate details shocked her. This was a woman who dreamed boldly. As her fingertips brushed over the pages, inspiration surged within her, igniting a sense of purpose she thought lost. This was not just a task, but a chance to reclaim her family's legacy. Every stroke of her pencil on the notepad felt like a revival, turning her fear into creative energy. In that moment of discovery, she recognized that her longing for validation was misplaced. What mattered was the connection she felt to her roots, Returning to her dress, she infused it with the spirit of those sketches' bold colors, unique shapes, and even the playful quirks she had previously hesitated to embrace. Rather than suppressing her individuality, she decided to amplify it, acknowledging that her voice was born from the very struggles she faced. In transforming her trash bags into something uniquely Lily, she was not just crafting a dress, but weaving together her past and present. As the competition loomed closer, her nights grew shorter, but her resolve crystallized. Each stitch was not merely a functional part of fabric, but an act of rebellion against her own insecurities. She was deliberately confronting each memory, each fear that had haunted her, and wrangling them into a form that spoke of defiance and expression. Then came the evening before the competition. With her dress nearly complete, Lily stood in the twilight, fabric draped over her arm, reflecting on the path she chose. This competition symbolized more than a mere chance for a scholarship. It was her declaration of self-worth. But in allowing herself to believe in her creation, she faced a new dilemma. How would she handle further mockery if it came again? Was she ready to stand firm, embodying the essence of what she had crafted and who she had become? Her heart raced with both the thrill of anticipation and the dread of possibilities. The night stretched on, tension coiling tighter around her, fusing fear with budding confidence. The moment of unveiling beckoned. She could almost hear the murmur of expectations swirling around her like a live wire. As she prepared for the dawn, Lily understood that embracing her imperfections would be her greatest strength. Would she stand tall enough to face the world without crumbling under its weight? And as that thought lodged itself in her mind, a sudden knock echoed through the house. A messenger of fate, or perhaps a reminder of her unresolved fears. Whatever it was, she knew there was no turning back now. Each breath she took was a step toward an inevitable confrontation. The time had come to face not only the judges but herself. The knock reverberated through the stillness of the house, a rhythmic thud that interrupted her thoughts and sent her pulse racing. Had someone come to offer words of encouragement? Or was it a harbinger of the judgment she feared most? Closing her eyes for a moment, Lily inhaled deeply, gathering the fragments of courage she had amassed throughout her creative journey. The past few days had been an exhilarating ride, but this knock, this moment, felt like the culmination of all her struggles. With hesitant steps, she moved toward the door, each stride weighing heavy with uncertainty. As she opened it, she was startled to find her former rival Claire standing on the porch. A flicker of surprise crossed Claire's face that quickly morphed into a mask of indifference. The underlying tension of their history loomed ominously between them, but Lily sensed this visit was no mere coincidence. "Lily," Claire began, her tone sharp but restrained. "Can we talk?" Something deep within Lily churned. Here was an unexpected twist, a chance to confront the rivalry that had shadowed her since the first day of high school, a battle of perception she had tried to shake off. But the hollow ache of self-doubt still lingered. What could Claire possibly want to discuss? "Sure," Lily replied, striving to mask her unease. She gestured for Claire to enter, and the two walked into the living room where remnants of fabric and scattered sketches had become a second home to Lily. "I heard about the competition," Claire said, glancing at the fabric strewn across the room. "I wanted to see what you've been working on." Lily felt a rush of vulnerability but managed to deflect. "It's just an idea, nothing special." Her words clung to a thread of truth, but Lily knew it was more than that. It was a piece of her heart, and admitting its value felt terrifying. Claire's eyes narrowed and she stepped closer, examining the dress. "You're using trash bags?" "Yes," Lily affirmed, her voice steadying against a wave of embarrassment. "It's a statement." The conviction in her own voice surprised her, sparking a flicker of defiance. "Bold move," Claire said, her admiration barely masked by her usual bravado. "But you know the judges won't care about statement pieces, right? They want polished and perfect." The implication hung heavy in the air. Lily took a deep breath, confronted by the very doubt she battled internally. Was this competition merely a display of perfection, a facade that would ultimately drown out the essence of creativity? This was a question she must face. "Maybe," Lily replied, feeling the weight of her response like a challenge. "But I think being genuine matters more than conforming to expectations, even if it means risking criticism." Surprisingly, Claire appeared taken aback, contemplation flickering across her face. "I didn't realize you felt like that." In that unexpected moment of vulnerability, Lily saw an opening, a chance not just to defend her work, but to redefine the nature of their rivalry. It's okay to be scared, Claire. We all have our insecurities. It's about what we do with them that counts. The air crackled with a newfound connection. Rather than fight against each other, they could acknowledge their parallel challenges. They were both on the brink of something, an evolution, not only as artists but as individuals. As the reality of her words settled between them, Lily felt a confidence bloom. Perhaps showing vulnerability could create an avenue for understanding with Claire, and with her own self. The tension in the room shifted again, this time infused with potential rather than intimidation. But even as Lily embraced this new perspective, the thought of the competition loomed large, a stage where judgment would be inevitable. Just then, Claire took a step back, absorbing the atmosphere. Listen, maybe we're not so different after all. Good luck in the competition, Lily, she said somewhat genuinely. You might just shock us all. As Claire left, Lily sat in the silence that followed. The echo of the knock now transformed into an invitation. She had faced a confrontation, one she had not anticipated, and it had altered the landscape of her confidence. With dawn on the horizon, an even larger question emerged. Would she be able to harness this moment into a powerful expression on the day of the competition, or would self-doubt claw its way back? As the first light of day began to peek through her window, Lily looked toward her dress, recognizing it for what it truly represented, a raw, untamed reflection of herself. The last stitch awaited, and with it a choice. Would she truly unveil herself to the world, imperfections included? With a chill of uncertainty, she grasped the fabric tightly, eager and hesitant for what lay ahead. Tomorrow would not just be her chance to shine, it would be a reckoning. She stood at the edge of a precipice, the whisper of destiny echoing in her mind. The light of dawn spilled across Lily's workshop, illuminating the creased fabric and scattered sketches that had accompanied her through sleepless nights. The remnants of late-night fervor lay before her like a chaotic map to her own ambitions. As she stood staring at the dress, a profound realization settled in. This garment was not just a piece of art, it was a testament to her evolution. With each passing minute, the magnitude of the competition loomed larger in her mind, drowning her newfound confidence in a tide of anxiety. Would her bold, unconventional choice resonate with the judges? Were they even prepared to embrace anything beyond the surface beauty they so often praised? Determined to dismiss her doubts, she approached the dress once more. With careful hands, she examined the blend of textures and stitches that formed the daring silhouette. Each trash bag she had transformed held a story, a discarded element breathing new life, much like her own intentions. She allowed herself to pause, reveling in the metaphor before her. Refuse could become something beautiful, and so could she. Just then, a flurry of motivations flooded in. Reflecting on Claire's unexpected visit, Lily felt a shift deep within her. The confrontation had rekindled a flame she thought extinguished the desire to be authentic, to defy conformity. Echoes of their conversation rang through her mind. Being genuine mattered more than adhering to the prescribed norms of polished perfection. With renewed vigor, she grabbed her sketchbook and began to map out a plan. This wasn't simply about the dress. It was about harnessing her voice as an artist. What statement could she make that would go beyond the judges' expectations? Scribbles turned into notes, transformed into thoughts on how her design could encapsulate not just fashion but also storytelling. Still, nagging uncertainties crept back in. What if the judges didn't understand? What if they dismissed her work as juvenile, misguided? How could she convey her message effectively? Each thought echoed with a reality she had been skirting. Competition was more than a challenge. It was a battleground for her insecurities. Hours slipped by as Lily continued to craft her ideas. The sun rose higher, spilling warmth across the floor. But inside her a storm brewed. It dawned on her how each moment spent second-guessing her choices chipped away at her confidence. She set a boundary in her mind, a decision to trust her instincts no matter the outcome. She would not change the essence of her creation to fit someone else's ideal, not this time. When she finally stepped back from her work, sweat beading on her brow from the intensity of her focus, she knew it was time. The deadline for submissions loomed close, transforming the atmosphere from contemplative to urgent. Each second felt like a heartbeat driving her forward, propelling her to take a definitive step. There was no turning back now. As she began to prepare for the final detailing, Lily took a breath and held her fabric close. This was her moment, not merely for the judges but for herself. The culmination of her journey would soon be unveiled, raw and truthful. Yet, as she reached for the scissors, her phone buzzed on the table, interrupting the moment. A name flashed across the screen: Claire again. Heart racing, Lily hesitated. What could Claire want now? To dilute her resolve? Or perhaps offer another perspective? Instinctively, she felt it might be a litmus test of her growth. Responding or ignoring might reveal more than she anticipated about where she stood. With a quick inhale, she took a moment before deciding. Would she embrace this renewed alliance? Or would she confront the old animosity once more? And as she contemplated this choice, one thread of clarity emerged. Either way, it was a path toward a personal truth that she could not ignore. With steady hands, she reached for her phone, ready to face whatever awaited her on the other side of the call. Lily took a deep breath as she accepted the call, the sound of Claire's voice breaking through the precarious state of her emotions. It was as if she were standing at a cliff's edge, the winds of uncertainty swirling around her, and Claire's voice was that gust urging her to leap or retreat. "Lily. Hey, I just had a thought about your dress," Claire began, an excitement in her tone that was hard to ignore. "Thanks for calling," Lily replied, her heart pounding. There was a mix of hope and apprehension coursing through her. Would this be an affirmation, or another blow to her resolve? "I think we need to talk about how you're presenting your idea. I know you've put in so much work, but don't shy away from showcasing your concepts. Tell the story behind the materials." Claire's enthusiasm washed over her like a wave. Yet Lily couldn't shake the apprehension that shadowed their previous conversations. "It's just I'm worried about how they'll perceive it." Lily found herself admitting, vulnerability creeping into her voice. "What if they think it's just rubbish?" "Rubbish? Are you kidding? You're taking trash and turning it into art. That's a revolution in itself. You have to own it, Lily." Claire's conviction was infectious, stirring something deep within Lily, a mixture of audacity and fear that had long been buried beneath layers of self-doubt. The conversation continued, with Claire asking probing questions that pulled Lily deeper into her artistic vision. "What do you really want them to walk away with?" Claire pressed. "I want them to see the beauty in what's discarded. To understand that creativity can emerge from the unlikeliest places," Lily articulated, surprised by her own clarity of thought. Each word shed light on her evolving identity as an artist, illuminating a path forward. "Exactly. It's about making a statement, not just a dress," Claire replied, her enthusiasm intoxicating. This swift pivot in their dynamic made Lily realize how much had shifted in her life. Claire was no longer an adversary, she was an ally. Lily knew then that her relationship with Claire could add depth to her narrative as an artist. Yet, remnants of skepticism tugged at Lily's mind. Competition was still looming, and questions coursed through her thoughts. Could vulnerability in her narrative coexist with the hard-edged expectation of judgment? As the conversation drew to a close, Claire's last words echoed, "You got this, Lily. Just remember, if you falter, you can redefine your approach." With the call ended, the workshop felt different. The air buzzed with new energy, each corner of her space now emanating potential. The light filtering through the windows sparked fresh ideas, and Lily returned to her sketches, her mind racing with possibilities. Leaning into Claire's insights, she began to revise her presentation. It was one thing to craft a stunning dress. It was another entirely to articulate the journey of its creation. This was no longer just a garment, it was a manifesto of her beliefs on recycling, identity, and self-acceptance. The fabric began to morph under her hands, not just as a piece of art, but as a narrative vehicle. Every snip of the scissors now felt strategic. Each thread sewn into place represented her resolve. And with every detail that fell into line, she sensed a veil lifting, a newfound confidence unfurling within, pushing her forward into uncharted territory. Yet, with fresh momentum blossoming, the pressure intensified. As the submission deadline inched closer, her heart raced with conflicting emotions. Just as she gasped in realization of her evolving identity as an artist, another buzz interrupted her flow, this time. A text from Claire with an image attached. It was a picture of women in the fashion industry showcasing their unconventional designs. The words accompanying it read, "Remember, trends change. Don't be someone's passing phase." As she stared at the screen, apprehension surged anew. Was she truly prepared to establish herself against the tide of traditional expectations? The time had come for a final push, but the weight of authenticity began to press down heavily. Lily's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just about the competition anymore. It was a decisive moment that would either solidify her place as an artist or sink her back into self-doubt. The stakes had escalated, and the remnants of her past were calling her to confront them one last time. With shaky hands poised over the fabric, Lily felt the moment of truth fast approaching, the opportunity to reconcile her ambition with her reality. She closed her eyes, allowing the intensity of her conflicting fears and ambitions to merge, ready to uncover what lay ahead. Every nerve in Lily's body felt awakened, as though electrified by the weight of her decision. The remnants of past self-doubt stitched into the very fabric of her existence threatened to unravel her newfound resolve. The deadline loomed closer, and with it came the whispered taunts of inadequacy. What if she still wasn't enough? Pushing the thought aside, she tore a piece of vivid blue plastic from a bag, watching the light play across its surface, refracting in unpredictable ways. This was more than just material. It was an embodiment of her journey, a symbol of reclamation. Was she ready to turn her internal chaos into a visual narrative? Could she truly transform her struggles into an art form that would resonate? With newfound determination, she gathered her sketches, her vision coalescing into something tangible. Each design informed the next, growing bolder as she siphoned all her pent-up frustrations into her work. The discarded items took root in her consciousness, morphing into symbols of resilience. They needed a voice, and she could be that voice. This was the story she longed to tell, one that demanded to be seen and heard. But still, a trickle of fear crawled under her skin. Without realizing it, she kept glancing toward the large mirror hanging in the corner. Not just a reflection, but a representation of her truth, or perhaps her refusal to confront it. She would face her own reflection, or she'd forever remain at the precipice of her potential. The woman staring back at her was not the hesitant girl who had entered the workshop, but an artist on the cusp of breakthrough. As the hours turned to days, the color palette of her materials began to dance. She stitched and glued, creating layers that felt as if they were alive, breathing energy into her project. The rhythm of her actions transformed into a ceremony, an ode to everything she had ever collected, discarded memories interlaced with vivid aspirations. Yet as her dress began to take shape, a familiar shadow loomed. Each evening, just as she felt she was making progress, feedback from peers or a fleeting glance at industry standards brought doubt crashing back. Was her work too avant-garde? Too steeped in an emotional narrative that wouldn't resonate with a critical audience? One evening, as she was piecing together a bold, asymmetrical design, a noise snapped her from her focus, a jarring familiarity. Her phone buzzed insistently, pulling her back from the cocoon of creativity. It was an invitation to a pre-competition meet and greet with influential leaders in the fashion industry. The pressure surged anew, snapping at her heels like a predator on the hunt. To attend would mean facing judgment, but to avoid it felt like taking one step back. The conflict simmered within her. Was she prepared to display her work? Would the vulnerability she knitted into every seam be celebrated or ridiculed? Ignorance felt like a warm blanket, tempting her to retreat. Yet Claire's words echoed with a new intensity. If you falter, you can redefine your approach. What if attending this meet and greet could be her chance to reclaim her narrative, to own her story rather than let it be dictated by others? Caught between the comfort of hiding and the electrifying possibility of growth, Lily considered her options carefully, weighing the merit of confrontation against the safety of avoidance. The choice crystallized before her: to leap. She would create a presentation that showcased the journey of her dress, not just the garment but the powerful tale behind it. This decision plunged her further into the abyss of self-exploration and pushed her to confront the very fear that threatened to engulf her. As she finished sewing the last stitch on what she would wear to the meet and greet, her heart raced with anticipation. This was not merely fabric she was crafting, it was her new identity, forged from her struggles and triumphs. And just as satisfaction began to blossom, her phone chimed once more, this time with a terse message from Claire. Remember, you're not just reflecting trends. You're setting them. Lily's pulse quickened at the implications. Was she indeed ready to be a trendsetter? Just as she grasped the enormity of this realization, uncertainty gripped her again, twisting into the very foundation of her artistry. Would her unique vision translate into relevance? In that moment, facing her reflection once again, Lily realized the answer was just beyond her grasp. The time to reveal herself had come, but clarity remained elusive. Would she be brave enough to step into the light, or would darkness sweep her back into doubt? The vibrant colors of the dress caught the light as she stood before the mirror. The textured fabric, a concoction of her inner struggles and aspirations, draped elegantly over her frame. But with each passing moment, the reflection morphed from an empowering image into a daunting harbinger of doubt. Was this bold creation truly a reflection of her artistry, or merely a chaotic assemblage of scraps? Lily turned away from the mirror, her heart racing. She needed to focus on her goal, yet the room felt confining, vibrating with the weight of expectations she imposed upon herself. The meet and greet was tomorrow, and with it came the precipice of an opportunity that both terrified and exhilarated her. She pored over her notes, thoughts swirling like the threads of her fabric. How could she best convey the purpose behind her creation? It was not just a garment but a testament to triumph over adversity, a story woven into every seam. Yet, in her mind, questions raged. Would they understand this narrative? Would it resonate amidst the sharp critiques of seasoned professionals? Moments turned to hours as she paced around the tiny room, wrestling with insecurities that crept beneath her skin. Claire's message was still fresh in her mind, but doubt whispered insidious lies. You don't belong here, you're just pretending. Each word taunted her resolve, chipping away at her drive. But then, urgency sparked something within her. Reflection turned to action. Grabbing her sketchbook, Lily furiously scribbled down the core theme she needed to convey. Resilience, reclamation, rebirth. The energy invigorated her. Within a few minutes, ideas flowed freely. She would craft a narrative that was powerful enough to challenge expectations. The hours passed all too quickly, and the evening slipped into a rhythm where fear and excitement danced chaotically. With every designed word and rehearsed phrase, she envisioned an audience captivated by the punctuated beats of her life represented in fabric. As dawn broke, she could feel the pulse of the city beneath her, vibrant and alive. The outside world had never felt so exhilarating. Each honk, every laughter, a reminder of her own heartbeat. Arriving at the venue, the chaos of overlapping conversations and the whirl of attire swirled around her, each person dressed in the conventional, the safe. Lily, clad in her unconventional masterpiece, felt like an alien in this world, a world that screamed conformity yet housed an essence she desperately wanted to shatter. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, searching for faces that dared to look beyond trends and embrace narratives. But the sea of seasoned professionals often lost focus, their eyes trained on the expected and familiar. Each passing moment felt weighted with unseen judgment, and a creeping sensation threatened to pull her back into the shadows. Then she spotted Claire from across the room. The mentor's presence was magnetic, inspiring in ways Lily yearned for. But it also raised the stakes, further amplifying her anxiety. Would Claire's approving nod bring her courage or deepen her self-doubt? Lily drew herself up, a silent vow forming. She would not remain a mere observer in her own life. The time for authenticity was now. Gripping her notes tightly, she prepared to approach the cluster gathering at the front of the room. Flashes of self-consciousness threatened to freeze her, but clarity shone through. Each piece of discarded material told a story. Her dress embodied the resilience that defined her journey. As she stepped closer, heart racing and palms sweaty, a voice cut through the din, the piercing proclamation of a critic echoing the fears that quieted her. What's the point of this avant-garde nonsense? Fashion should speak to the masses, not every jumbled thought. That stark judgment ricocheted through her. With the sound echoing in her mind, an idea sparked anew. What if the misunderstood chaos she embodied was precisely the spark that could ignite change in an industry starving for authenticity? As she squared her shoulders and prepared to speak, she felt both dread and determination intermingle in a way that ignited her spirit. Tomorrow would not only be about the dress but her voice, bold and unwavering. Would she have the courage to let it be heard? Or would the harsh feedback once again push her back into silence? The moment was now, and uncertainty loomed heavy, vying for control. What would happen when she placed her truth before a room full of critics? The crowd buzzed with anticipation, yet all Lily could hear was the pounding of her heart. She stood at the fringe of the gathering, cloaked in fabric she had crafted from discarded materials that held remnants of her past. The critics' words rang louder than the chatter, They struck at her confidence. What was she doing here, pushing against a wall of conventionality? With each step she took toward the center, her apprehension battled with a new resolve. Each piece she stitched represented a moment in her life, a chapter in her story, ripe for sharing. She recalled her purpose: to be a voice for those who felt unheard, to challenge the norms that suffocated creativity. As she edged closer to the cluster of established designers, she watched their interactions, quick, practiced, and devoid of the raw vulnerability she yearned to present. Would they regard her as a fraud? Would they dismiss her before she spoke? But the thoughts of self-doubt were fleeting. Instead, Lily's thoughts formed into something sharper. A pointed goal materialized in her mind. She needed to deliver not just a presentation but an invitation. An invitation to experience the beauty in the unconventional, to redefine the very fabric of fashion. Claire caught her eye again, mingling effortlessly among the crowd. Lily felt a jolt of energy at the sight. If Claire could thrive in such an environment, then so could she. The thought fueled her steps. "Excuse me," she whispered to the group, bracing herself as all heads turned toward her. She gathered herself, willing herself to elevate above their scrutinizing gazes. This was no longer just a dress. It represented a revolution, a reawakening of creativity waiting to erupt. "Hello, I'm Lily," she began, her voice tinged with uncertainty but growing steadily stronger. "I ask you to reconsider what fashion should represent. My work may defy convention, but it embodies a narrative of resilience and transformation." The crowd shifted slightly, an eyebrow raised here, a nod there. "My dress is made from materials many would consider garbage. Yet it stands as a testament to what can emerge from our discarded emotions and experiences. Every stitch, every tear, tells a story of reclamation." Lily sensed the tension rippling through the crowd, shifting from skepticism to intrigue. The elements of her design reflected the ups and downs of her journey. The rawness she had often shied away from, now openly displayed before them. As she gained momentum in her speech, she spoke of stories, the moments of fear, the relentless spirits of those who create without the expectation of approval. Students in fashion who are often eclipsed by the giants of the industry, yet carry within them the seeds of originality that just needed a little sunlight to thrive. Yet just as momentum surged, a familiar voice punctured through her narrative, cutting sharply into her empowerment. "That might be your story, but does it really matter to those who hold the influence?" The critic chimed again, skepticism dripping from the words. While their clamp on her confidence tightened, something inside Lily twisted with rebellion. Did she truly care about winning over an entrenched critic who viewed art merely as a trend? What if it mattered more than the glitter and fame? She thought defiantly. Just like that, an unexpected epiphany struck. The invasive doubt that lingered no longer resonated within her like it used to. Perhaps her vulnerability was her strength, not a weakness. This moment could pave the way not for acceptance by critics, but for cultivating a niche where authenticity thrives. In that heartbeat of clarity, a new determination fused itself within her, a force that transformed her fear into conviction. With each word that followed, she was no longer pleading for validation. She was proclaiming her existence in a space designed for voices like hers, the unconventional, the overlooked. She found herself at the turning point of her artistic journey, but the choice ahead loomed larger. Would she forge ahead, undeterred by backlash, or retreat into the shadows where familiarity lay? As the audience shifted in their stance, caught between criticism and curiosity, a question lingered: could she really redefine what fashion meant for herself? The air crackled with potential, leaving the audience on the brink of a decision. The moment of truth was not just about the dress. It was about Lily asserting her place in an industry that often felt inaccessible. Would her next move be one of rebellion or retreat? With her heart pounding, she forged ahead, ready to stand her ground. The echoes of her own proclamation filled the air, fueling something deep within Lily. The crowd's murmurs blended into a cacophony of thoughts. Some revered her audacity, while others remained stuck in disbelief. Yet, the first step had been taken, and she could feel a fragile shift, resonating beyond mere skepticism. As she stood there, Lily realized that the impact was not solely about her designs. It was about the narrative she had woven through them. Each fabric, each intention held layers waiting to be peeled back. Perhaps, she contemplated, it was time for her to peel back her own layers as well. Would she continue to hide her vulnerabilities, Or would she embrace the very essence that made her unique? Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself. The critic's doubt might echo in her mind, but it no longer defined her. If anything, it transformed into a stepping stone. The battle was not just with the audience, it was also within her. She could either surrender to fear or foster her own voice through uncomfortable truths. Lily didn't just want to present her dress. She needed to embody its spirit. What did it feel like to create something from discarded fragments of life? To find beauty amid chaos? Inspired by these ideas, she raised her hand as if beckoning them to look closer. This dress, she continued, is made from what people overlook, from what they cast away. Not just physically but emotionally too. It tells us that there is power in our stories, in our flaws. It dares us to see beyond the surface. Among the crowd she spotted a few faces knitting their brows, some intrigued, some still unimpressed. Yet she could see others leaning in, curiosity piqued. The unfamiliar warmth of connection washed over her, igniting something in her gut, a mixture of hope and defiance. Her patterness narrative became clearer. It was more than just a protest against traditional fashion. It was a declaration of existence. In those moments, the fear that once paralyzed her transformed into fuel. She pushed forth, revealing a part of herself she often concealed. You see, every piece of fabric carries memories, like a heart stitched with scars. Each tear is evidence of a battle fought. And in these reclaimed materials, I invite all of you to confront your own discarded emotions. The audience paused, the concept washing over them. Could they see? The critic, nonetheless, was unmoved. But will that translate to mainstream acceptance? The challenge hung heavy in the air. It was a question she had anticipated, one that flickered like a dim light threatening to extinguish her fire. For a fleeting moment, uncertainty began to creep back in. Could she navigate this path? The thought of grasping for the acceptance of elite designers weighed heavily, but it also sparked a radical notion she was ready to explore. What if, Lily proposed, voice steady, we redefine success altogether? Not by market-driven validation but through authenticity and self-expression. What if, instead of molding ourselves to fit into a box, we choose to embrace our distinct narratives, the raw and the real? The audience's murmur turned thoughtful, intrigued by the implications of her words. Even the critic regarded her with a hint of respectful curiosity. Could it be that she was igniting something beyond fashion? Perhaps an awakening was brewing. One that could unearth buried fears and hidden storytelling potentials in her audience. But her journey was not over. She faced a wall still thick with skepticism. Lily stepped back, absorbing the weight of her predicament. A choice loomed on the horizon for her. Would she further delve into this revolution, risk pushback from the industry, or attempt to cater to conventional tastes? The tautness of the moment held its breath, hiding the path she should take, but instinctively, she knew she was at the precipice of a decision that would resonate through her career. And that silence. Her mind raced with visions, potential futures sparking like fireworks. This was no longer merely about acceptance, it delved deeper. Perhaps it was time for her to walk into the light, not just as a designer but as an artist and advocate. What awaited her on the other side of that choice remained uncertain, testing the very essence of her values and desires. As her resolve crystallized, she prepared to plunge into the thick of it. Would she dare to challenge the very foundation of fashion? In the grip of that uncertainty lingered a haunting question: was she truly ready to face the consequences of her next leap? The time had come to confront her greatest fear. The possibility of rejection, or more terrifyingly, the weight of success. The air thickened with potential as she stood poised on the brink of transformation. Lily stood backstage, riddled with anticipation and uncertainty as the minutes to the competition ticked away. The echoes of her past rang in her ears, the mocking laughter, the dismissive remarks, that stinging blow to her confidence from the influencer at the mill. But today was different. Today was not just about a dress, it was about her. As she adjusted the vibrant blue dress made entirely from trash bags, she could feel the weight of her journey woven into every fiber. This was no longer just fabric. It was her life story, her rebellion, and most importantly, her affirmation. She recalled the sketches she found in the attic and the fire ignited within her when she embraced her roots. Each minute spent crafting this piece transformed her fear into undeniable determination. She was ready to stand tall against the tides of doubt. When Lily finally stepped out into the spotlight, The audience's murmur settled into an expectant silence. The lights were bright, blinding yet invigorating. With every step she took, confidence surged through her. Rather than a hideaway, she now saw this space as an opportunity, a stage to proclaim her truth. What does fashion mean? She posed to the crowd, projecting the conviction she had unearthed. For too long it has been confined to perfection and polished surfaces, excluding the vibrant messes that create our lives. Her conviction rang true. She sensed the crowd lean in, intrigued, as their gaze shifted from the extraordinary ensemble to the narrative she was weaving. She recounted her journey, articulating her passion for recycling, for creating beauty from the overlooked. Every listener became a witness to her evolution, and she could feel the air transform as her vulnerability struck a chord. With each breath, each word, Lily conquered the fears that had once weighed heavily upon her. This dress, she proclaimed, is made from what society deems worthless. It represents reclaiming our stories, embracing our imperfections, and finding strength in what has been cast aside. Echoed applause began to ripple from select corners, amplifying her energy. Suddenly, the critic who had once belittled her stood at the edge of the audience, arms crossed, skepticism on his face. Yet, as she continued to articulate her vision, fashion as a medium for authentic expression, and the beauty of resilience, she saw something flicker in his expression. Perhaps, just perhaps, he was beginning to reconsider. The moment reached a crescendo as Lily revealed her motivation behind the design, sharing intimate stories from her life, her family's struggles, the loss that had defined her, and how that pain was transformed into art. As she shared her heart, the fabric fell gracefully around her, an embodiment of everything she had crafted through perseverance. By the time she finished her presentation, the room erupted in applause, a newfound understanding flowing through the crowd. The visceral connection she had forged felt electric, validating her existence, her journey, and her artistry. She had shifted from a girl swallowed by fears into a woman commanding attention, firmly rooted in her identity. In the wake of her presentation, accolades began to pour in. Judges approached her with genuine interest, offering invitations to collaborate, to join mentorship programs, each opportunity a validation of her hard work. As she received heartfelt praise, her heart echoed a sentiment she could hardly believe. She had done it. Lily stepped off the stage, not just with a scholarship opportunity in her hand, but with a firm footing in her place as an artist. The fear that had once bound her lessened in intensity, replaced by an undeniable sense of accomplishment. She had proven to herself that she could transform not just trash into art but vulnerability into power. As the applause resonated in her ears, clarity enveloped her. This was her moment of fulfillment, a statement of self-worth solidified through creativity. The journey had reshaped her not as a girl burdened by grief and self-doubt, but as a bold voice ready to forge her path. This was not just an ending. This was a beginning. The world was hers to explore, to redefine her narrative, and she was primed to challenge expectations with raw authenticity. With a sense of pride swelling within her, she turned toward the audience once more, now looking for those who openly supported her. This transformation would ripple far beyond the confines of this room. As she walked away, emotions surged, a profound mixture of gratitude, recognition, and brimming potential. She was not merely a girl with a dress. She was Lily, an artist, a creator, and a powerful force in a world longing for genuine stories. Embark on your journey too. You need to subscribe now to witness more transformative stories that can inspire your own artistic path. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and help these narratives reach those who need to hear them. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who should recognize the power of overcoming struggles. Comment your thoughts and theories on the conclusion. Your voice matters.